Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Core Premier Series. Tonight, we have the Mid-Season Classic here at Las Vegas. It is a non-points race, a little bit of greenbacks involved here tonight, as Kevin Foster always holds this race here, especially for all the Premier Series drivers. And tonight I am joined in the booth with Brendan Polt, and we also have a special guest with us in here, the booth tonight. He's not here momentarily. He stepped away, but Brendan, how's it going?
I'm doing just fine here. I'm excited for this kind of race here. It's with these FSR 500s and a track like Las Vegas, it ends up being almost like a Daytona for these kinds of things. So I'm excited, and I'm tired, personally, IRL. I don't know about you. I'm here and driving out.
I'm a little tired, but, me switching shifts and getting everything situated over there, ended up figuring out my sleep patterns here. But before we get everything going, I want to give a big shout out to Kevin Foster's family who's out here watching here tonight. It's going to be Mama Kelly and Papa Bill. Mama Kelly and Papa Bill always out there rooting on Kevin Foster, no matter what series he runs in, no matter what track or car combo. They're always out there along with Barry Kistler, giving him some shout-outs there towards the end of the race and the beginning of the race. They're always supporting Kevin Hollywood Foster and whatever he's doing. I always love riding with Kevin. He's a great guy altogether. And he put that number 8 machine, P number 4, for tonight's race.
Yeah, he put it well, but real quick, Dylan, screen share, please. Sorry to interrupt that, but yeah, Foster put that up in a very good spot here, as the pace car is going to peel off for the beginning of this race here, these Midsummer Classic, the FSR 500s.
Yeah, 2x2. Can't go till the Barney waves the green flag. We're back to racing here for the Core Premier Series at Las Vegas. You see them all shuffling out, trying to get figured out the bump drafting in each and every kind of way. They all have headlights here. Even though it is a night race, they don't really need the headlights due to the track being lit. They still have the headlights in their favor. And it looks like, a little bit of bump drafting going on between the 8 and the 4 with, it looks like Kelly Poiter and Christopher Hamilton trying to use that outside to their advantage.
Yeah, Hamilton's trying to make that high side work, but it's going to be hard to do with no help. So far, it may get in line behind Kelly Poiter, as I believe our leader is Brandon Mettler, who he's going to lead lap 1 of this Midsummer Classic.
Yeah, Brandon Mettler leading the first lap in the Mid-Season Classic, as Thaddeus Marshall down on the inside was 3 wide with the number 76 of Joe Sullivan and Christopher Hamilton. Christopher Hamilton falling back even more. Not sure what's going on with that number 70 or 64 machine, but he's going to fall back pretty much all the way to dead last, using that outside to his advantage. But not much of an advantage to you on that outside. It's Kelly Poiter sticking strong and true to that outside in the Ken Block throwback Hoonicorn scheme, paying tribute to the late Mr. Ken Block, as we're using all of this racetrack here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, you really cannot go wrong with any lane you put it here. It's just a matter of, can you hold the line? Because as we see really well, Kelly Poiter holding his own on that high side with basically no help, as I believe there's one car on that outside lane a little bit further back trying to get to him. But it seems like, yeah, that is the 11 of John Crane. Yeah, that's who that is, trying to get up to Poiter. Well, it looks like it's just not going to be in the immediate future, as Kelly is side by side with the leader. He is getting great runs out of these corners.
Yeah, it's kind of like how the street stocks at Charlotte was a couple of weeks ago. If you use that outside to your momentum, you can get it, but you kind of also need the help as well, as, David Tilford used that high side to his advantage. Kelly Poiter was using it. James Molyneux was using it. And now you see the 75, the 8, the 11, and the 85, along with the 65 and the 10, all using that outside. So you got more cars on the outside lane than you do on the inside. But you see them giving a little bit more room to the rear bumpers than you'd seen on the first lap, where you got a little bit more bump drafting due to maybe a misshift here and there. But so far, so good, as everybody's keeping it relatively clean for the first 5 laps.
Yeah, it's a long race. We got 75 laps here around Las Vegas, and these cars topping out 145 miles an hour. It is gonna feel a lot longer. Some of our other races are. It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna feel like it, as Brandon Mettler will take almost about a car length gap, as Kelly Pointer actually makes that up pretty quickly. But nobody wants to be pushing so early where you don't want to wreck so early where you wreck your car out and you're out for the rest of the race. Is only 5 laps in, so everybody else is just trying to hold their own and just stay alive, really.
Yeah, you can see Brandon Mettler using all of the apron to his advantage there in the tri-oval. He's getting it so low where he's clipping the grass ever so slightly and easing his way back onto the racetrack. I'm not sure if that's just because he doesn't want the car to get upset and loose coming off the apron, as there is a little bit of, I guess, angle to when you come up off the apron. Doesn't want to upset the car in any way, spin himself out, take out other competitors, as they're all still a double file all the way through this field. Go to check back here with David Tilford in that number 12, and she's got Thad Marshall right in front of him, getting the draft all the way back up to Thaddeus Marshall, and he's got Joe Sullivan following, as Joe Sullivan had to put it on the brakes momentarily to not get in the back of that number 12 machine.
Yeah, you really can't break any momentum here at this kind of track, because as we see now, that 76 machine is now struggling just to get back on that bumper of Dave Tilford, which he will eventually as I speak, because he just gained about a car length. But if you break that momentum, it will cost you a lot. It is deadly for this car and track combination that you kind of have to commit, or you just lose at least a second.
Yeah, it's all momentum based. It's kind of like the truck. You know, I run a lot of the trucks, so the Ford Mustang FR 500S is kind of the same thing. Want to be similar to, just want to make sure that you keep the momentum up into the corners. You are pretty much full throttle all the way through if you're the leaders. If you're behind the leaders and you're kind of bump drafting, you got to play with the throttle just a little bit, as Kevin Foster goes way wide. Now he's going to be 3 wide with Thad Marshall and John Crane. He's going to go ahead and give up that P3 position, and now Kevin Foster, he's going to be on his way looking backwards, as they're all going to cycle through this. And I think maybe it's a little bit of a fuel strategy moment here, where he wants to kind of play it smart, move to the back, save a little bit more fuel, and see what kind of runs he can make up in the draft.
Yeah, it could easily be fuel-saving tactics, or just trying to get a feel for the car a little bit further back of the pack. Because if you're the leaders of either the high or the low line, like you mentioned, that throttle is pinned to the bottom. You cannot save fuel in these things when you're leading the pack. So they will have to pit earlier for fuel, I believe. I don't know how many laps they can do on a tank, but Brandon Mettler and Kelly Pointer will run out earlier than the guys behind them.
Exactly. Unless maybe, since Brandon Mettler and Kelly Pointer are controlling the field, they can decide on how much throttle they want to put in the cars. They can decide on, if they want to go 90% throttle all the way around the track, or maybe if they're going full bore. If they're going full bore, then obviously, yes, the front 2 cars aren't really saving as much fuel than, let's say, John Crane and Carl Hanover. Because you can see there, John Crane gave one hell of a shot to the number 75. And just looking at that little bit of a bump, you can see how much of separation you get after that bump. He gave him a little bit of a shot, and all of a sudden Kelly Pointer went way forward, and John Crane kind of stayed right where he was. It's not like a cup car where if you give him a bump draft, you and that car behind you are going to go together. He's pretty much going to stop you dead in your tracks.
Yeah, when you bump the car front in these, your momentum's also kill, but it does propel them a little bit. So if you do it right, you can end up still going with Kelly Pointer, as we see Crane give Pointer a little bit of a bump going into 3. But you see how far back he drops. that could either be just him trying to give some space, or that's just, I doubt that's how big the draft is. But with that space bill, and now look at this, he's got another run. He's at least back on Pointer's bumper and can choose to bump again if he wishes with how he's driving this car.
Especially with how close he gets right to his back bumper into the corner. I'm thinking he's lifting just a little bit because I don't know if I would trust myself to push in the corners, especially with a rounded front bumper like this Mustang. So maybe getting right up onto him, giving him a little bit of a shot, backing off just a little bit to make sure that, one, the 75 is good to make it through the corner, doesn't get a little bit too loose and take out the whole field. Or two, just wants to be conservative, see what he can and can't do. As you got everybody pretty much in the top side, you only got 4 drivers out of the inside. So you can already kind of tell that top lane is pretty dominant here so far, and Kelly Porter's still not able to get clear of Brandon Mettler.
Yeah, Pointer cannot really do anything unless he gets major bumps from John Crane behind him. And I don't think Pointer wants to do anything crazy yet either. Like we mentioned, it's still a very long race. We're only coming around a complete lap 14. So it is still a very long race, so Pointer just may not be in a rush yet.
Yeah, he might not be. I mean, when would it be go time? Yes, you have 75 laps. You still got a couple pit stops to do. But how much is too much, we could say? I mean, you see how close they are together. And everybody's giving enough room to where they're not hitting each other. Nothing is happening.
Oh, he went down to the apron and went right back up front. That almost took out the front end of Carl Handwerk.
Yeah, that's something that you don't really want to have happen just because, you know, it's that. You don't really want to see it all happen. But, you know, everybody's still keeping their wits about them, giving enough room where they can. And Thad Marshall going from the bottom up to the top, almost getting in the rear end of the number 11 of John Crane, but quickly able to get it down to the inside.
Yeah, he's going to get that back down on the inside here. As to go back to your point earlier on when is too early, I feel like probably about halfway is still a little bit too early. For most people, when you see those cross flags, it's like, all right, it's go time. But when you're in the pack like this, you kind of need to hold it together until maybe the last 5 and just try and keep your nose clean, try and stay within the pack as Marshall takes a look through the middle, but he's going to think otherwise. Yeah, and stay on that bottom lane.
Yeah, now, see, with me, if I would have seen that little bit of a hole through the middle, best believe that would have been me full for sure.
It looks like you have Jimmy in there.
Yeah, I just come back just since Dylan would definitely throw that Mustang into a spot it probably doesn't need to be at, especially here early as they're only working on lap 17. Yeah, like I've been watching a little bit here, and like I see that you obviously were watching the 2 lines here, and I'm listening to you guys talk about it, and right now I think track position is key and like who they're working with, but I think pit stops, especially if they keep running green like this, is going to play such a huge role. You know, who's practiced bringing these Mustangs in? I practiced a little bit. I mean, everybody has been around for the past few weeks knows that I'm kind of broken, so I'm been taking baby steps trying to get back in a race, and basically the pit stops are kind of unique, and if you're not used to the Mustang, you're really gonna have trouble, and you can lose a lot of time in the pits, and it's gonna really make a difference here if they stay green.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to follow the leader pretty much going into pit lane. You kind of want to stagger yourself, kind of like what you see in a NASCAR race or short track style racing. You kind of want to offset your car just in case if somebody gets into the pit lane just a little bit more deeper than you do. Yes, these cars have brake lights, but sometimes the last time I ran this Mustang was couldn't even tell. I know I own the car, but I don't think I've ever turned a lap in these Mustangs, so I couldn't tell you what the brakes are like in this car.
The last time that Core has ran this Mustang was at Barber. We did an event there, and it was a lot of fun running these Mustangs. As they're heavier, and they kind of float around up top, and to put them here on an oval is unique. And they run very well. You can see as they're pretty much pack racing, as everybody's trying different lines back there. You can see who's that in the back? Is that is, I don't know, or Sullivan or Foster or somebody in Matt Crockett. Well, somebody's running the high line up there, and they're not losing any time. It seemed like when I was running out there at that bottom side seemed pretty strong, and it's just really going to take somebody putting a bumper to the back of somebody to maybe move them out of the way just a little bit, or at least edging them out to maybe pull alongside and using that side draft to get by them. But Kelly Pointer just doing a great job, I think, right now, just maintaining position. And I think a lot of cars are starting to shimmy down to that low side. I don't know what the laps are as far as fuel goes, but somebody like Kelly Pointer has been leading out front on the outside, could be in trouble if he can't work his way down to that bottom side, sometime soon, or enough time so where he needs to pit, he'll have to drop to the back of the field and not cause like a huge wreck like we've seen in the past. Especially, I think the incident comes to mind is myself and John Nobinger. I wouldn't let him down. Just kind of like, no, he's like, I got to pit. I was like, well, you better fall back. And he made a left instead. And yeah, let's just say I got a little angry. But anyways, these guys are doing a good job. I see a lot of single file, and it looks like you have some takers to the pits right now.
Yeah,
it
Kelly
is Pointer and Crane here. That it looks like they're just going to come in and take their fuel stops, as we'll see what they do. As our new leader, Dave Tilford. Actually, no, there's Stadius way out there that I did not see.
Actually, Chris Hamilton was able to take over the race lead. Carl Hedberg in P2, and then you got Thad Marshall in third. You have Chris Hamilton kind of shaking the car to get a little bit more extra fuel going down the backstretch. Possibly going to see the number 64 going down into pit lane this time by following with Carl Hedberg. And no, they're going to stay out one more extra lap as Kevin Hollywood Foster is the only one to bring his number 8 machine into pit lane. And if anybody knows Kevin Foster, he is a big Mustang guy. It fits perfectly to Kevin Foster. He loves Mustangs. What better way to do the mid-season classic than in a Mustang?
You can see those three to enter the pits first are coming out right behind the pack. They're going to lose the draft. So, can these drivers that stayed out, going to get a better pit stop and come back out in front of the other drivers, or, those three being able to hook back up? As it looks like, one of the drivers coming down into the pits right now there. I think that was Matt Crockett.
Yeah, Matt Crockett going to go in. And, with it being a 1.5 mile oval, if they take tires and they take fuel, how long do you want to stay out? I know on a stock car side, like, the cars, the NASCAR Cup cars and the trucks and the Xfinity cars, you don't really want to necessarily stay out too long over the guy that just pit, just because the more you stay out or the longer you stay out.
Here they come down and pits.
Here's the rest of them.
There they are. Looked like Thaddeus was going to get a little bit of a shot from the number 85, but he was able to keep it clear, as Kevin Foster was able to get out front of Kelly Pointer and company. So Kevin Foster being in the back, pitting 1 to 2 laps later than Kelly Pointer, and Brandon Mettler with John Crane was able to beat them out and stay out in front of those three drivers.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers in the pits right now, taking some service. Carl being in that front stall is going to help him out. He's not going to have to lay back at all. And it looks like Chris Hamilton getting a great launch out of there. I think him and Carl pretty much cross lines at the exact same time, but maintaining that still position out in front of Carl as they come back out on the track. And here comes the rest of the field. So let's see if those guys have got a good enough pit stop to allow them to maintain the lead here.
Yeah, they're going to meet each other on the back straightaway here, and it doesn't look like they're going to form a second pack here, because it looks like Foster's going to pull away here. They have the momentum built up. The guys that just came out of pit stops do not. So it looks like we'll have a 2-pack set of racing here.
Yeah,
It looks like everybody's kind of married up. Not too bad. I thought it would be a little more stretched out, but Kevin Foster, pitting solo like that, I was kind of worried about Kevin there for a minute. but he seems to be doing okay as he's out there in that third spot.
Yeah, you see them. They had that top side working. Mettler says, you know what, I'm tired of being on the outside. He goes down to the inside, leaves Kelly Porter out to dry, tries to get around Kevin Foster. Kevin Foster realized, like, hey, you know what? He's going to try to make the move down to the inside. I'm going to block that little bit of a run, keep his car out front, and maintain that P number 3 as Chris Hamilton running the outside wall to stay out of the draft of Carl Hadwick, I do believe, as Kevin Foster going to use that second lane to his advantage, and looks like Croc is going to follow. So you got one car on the way outside, 2 cars in the middle, and then you got 5 down on the inside. As well, now that whole thing has changed as Kevin Foster has went around Carl Hadwick, and Kevin Foster has taken the lead back over here tonight.
I think this has a little bit to do with fuel and strategy as he's allowing some of the cars to go by. I think you're going to see Chris run that high side just a little bit, maybe to maintain some tires, allow some drivers to get around him, and then fall back behind and draft the field as nobody seems to be going anywhere. But all the cars are pretty much all caught back up. They're pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only a few. Who's back there? 11. So who is the 11?
John Crane.
So John Crane back there, it looks like he's solo. So not a good spot for Crane to be. Maybe he just had a bad pit stop, or maybe he got held up. But so John kind of lagging behind just a little bit, as it looks like everybody's back together again.
Yeah, John Crane is actually up in P number 5. It's Dan Phelps.
Dan Phelps, let's position.
85.
I see the number 11 on my track map. Sorry, John. Dan, the 85. Get your rear end up there with everybody.
Yeah, with this being a high downforce kind of track, you kind of need that draft to help you propel yourself forward. As early in the race, we've seen Kevin Foster go from the top shelf running P number 3, and he fell back all the way to the back, saved some more fuel, pitted just a lap or 2 before everybody else did, and now you can see Matt Crockett. He's starting to use that high side to his advantage. He's the only one up there on the third shelf. Chris Hamilton's back down in the middle, and then he's got Kelly Porter right behind him. So you got 4 down on the inside, 3 in the middle, 3 on the outside, and now we're getting a little bit racy. We're going to see what these cars can do and see what kind of positions these drivers can make up.
Yeah, it looks like Crane heard you, Jimmy, because look who's leading this race now. He's doing a good job leading this race now, as he just led a lap on the previous time around. And seems to be doing well leading that inside lane with Christopher Hamilton on his outside.
Yeah, from some of the races that I watched you guys broadcast this so far this season, John's just had some bad luck being in the wrong spot, the wrong time, or maybe some not quite experienced enough to run the vehicle that's selected this week, but doing a good job here. He usually does a pretty good job running like these kind of high downforce plate track style races. John does a really good job. I've had him behind me and pushing me around on multiple tracks, and has always been reliable to not get too antsy on you, but just kind of gets tangled up. Unfortunately, he does have I think he has a premier win in his career, so he has the capability to get up there and finish these things up front for sure. But right now he's being followed by Kelly Pointer and Kevin Foster. So yeah, that solo pet by Kevin Foster, I'm still impressed that he was able to kind of come back out and be with everybody else.
Yeah, it's pretty much you want to have the numbers game, but looks like Kevin Foster says, you know what, you don't really need all the numbers. I'm gonna show you what you could do by yourself. And he was able to come back out on top.
Oh, able to. Marco?
Yeah, I seen a Thad kind of fall out of the pack, and then I think he might have dropped. And that's something that you don't really like to see is, internet connection issues happening here tonight with Thad not able to complete the rest of this race. And, with Dan being back there so far, I've been watching the times. He picks up some tenths here and there, then it quickly falls back. So I think with these drivers making one more pit stop, because they go about 25, 26 laps, you're going to have 2 pit stops for the whole race. I think that's where Dan Phelps is going to work his way back into this 10-car battle.
Yeah, he's going to need a godlike pit stop to try and get back with the stat or hope on a
godlike
caution.
pit stop or a caution. And I think right now you're seeing the drivers kind of running this thing out. Not many moves being made. They're pretty content with just following each other around. We are only 35 of 75 laps, so you still have 40 laps remaining here. So not quite halfway, and a lot of good racing. It's just side by side, and it's just patience. And I think it's a bigger game of chess than it is like a quick game of checkers here. So we'll see who comes out on top. But right now, it is John Crane.
Yeah, as of right now, you kind of want to pick and choose where you want to put the car. Obviously, with me, patience isn't in my English language, so I'll put my car anywhere that I need to put it to get any track position that I can. But everybody in this race, in the races prior, in the upcoming races, all have that mentality of, okay, I know where I'm fast at, I know where I'm slow at, I know what I could do, I know what these other drivers could do, I know where I can and can't put my car. It's how soon do you want to put it there and have like a little bit of a rebuttal in mind. If, like, let's say we're at Daytona Road Course, okay, if I dive it in here into the last chicane on the backstretch, how am I going to have to get through this corner going in possibly side by side? Or if I dive it in and get clear, what kind of speed am I going to have so that way the driver that I just passed doesn't have the opportunity to make that pass come back through again. So a lot of stuff goes into making sure that you do what you need to do on the racetrack and keep everybody as civil as you possibly can. Don't want to make that one wrong move where it could potentially end your race and other people's race as well.
Look at Crockett trying to form a third line up there. It doesn't seem to be going well, but he's got the help of Joseph Sullivan back there. So they're trying to get a third line going out here. Only about halfway through this race.
Yeah, I think the third line could work. I think, a lot of people try to get a third line working. The first two laps don't work, and then they kind of give up on it. But Matt Crockett has stayed true to that third lane. He gets a good run through the draft, goes right back up there, trying to use any part of that draft that he can. And same with Chris Hamilton. Chris Hamilton used that third lane for about 3 to 4 laps, fell back in line, now has been able to save a little bit more fuel. And I think that's what you're going to see here. You're going to see Crockett fall back in line, go back up to the top shelf, use enough draft to keep him in the pack, but wants to keep that clean air on the front end of that nose so he's not getting too tight going into the corners or loose. It could be either way. It could be a little bit too loose on entry, tight on exit, or it could be tight on entry and loose on exit. So kind of want to see what these cars can do later in the run, with the tire wear being probably not a big factor, as they're not going left and right. They're just kind of ease of the wheel left. But I think maybe going down below that apron on the front stretch could be hindering the tire wear, as well, as there's no banking down to that apron. And then you're coming back up onto the track where there is a little bit of banking going into turn one.
Yeah, I know when I was doing some practice laps right there, you can really, even in the corners, you're able to put that left front down below that apron, and it would really rotate the car around to your advantage to keep the momentum going. But I'm also sitting here, I'm staring at the pit laps. So you have like John Crane and Kelly Pointer who came in on lap 22. Kevin Foster came in on lap 23. And then you have Carl Hanford, Tilford, Chris Hamilton, and Joe Sullivan and Phelps. They came in at lap 25. That's a true like splitting it up in a two pit stop thing here if this thing were to go green the whole way. I'm just kind of curious if people like John Crane and Kelly Pointer, even Kevin Foster, we know how well he's saving fuel, and he's in that position right now to be drafting. If they're going to have enough fuel to be able to make it this run and just one more pit stop. Also, a Brandon Mettler was another driver that came in at lap 22. So it's really going to put it out there and just kind of see if some of those drivers are paying attention to their fuel. I know right now John Crane and Kelly Pointer are not, as they're leading the field, and they had to come in at 22 laps, and this really might hinder them. And if they're not watching their fuel calculators, they're just obviously doing a great job leading the pack and staying out front. But They're really going to need to pay attention as this race starts coming down to an end here. As right now we're on lap 42 of 75, so I would expect to see pit stops within the next eight laps. So, but for John Crane and Kelly Pointer, I would expect to see them in the next 3 to 4 laps.
Yeah, I'm not surprised we're going to start seeing pit stops anytime soon. Because as you mentioned, those top 2 leaders are not looking at the box, but they're also holding that throttle down. So they're wasting fuel a lot more than the guys behind them. So I would expect within at least 2 laps for the leaders. I agree with that. But they're still kind of chilling around here. It's still side by side. They're not getting too racy yet. I'm expecting it to get a little bit more heated by, I want to say, like 20 to 15 to go, maybe. So I'm just waiting on pit stops to come around.
Matt Crockett's still laying the rubber down on that outside, really getting up there. And I think maybe Kelly Pointer, maybe he heard with me talking over the radio or something, as he seems to be letting cars go by and kind of he went up to that high side, let a few cars come and go by, and maybe he's going to think about start drafting soon, or he just needs to let some cars go by so he can come down into the pits as he should be ending his pit stop here fairly shortly, as it looks like a lot of drivers starting to head down to that bottom side.
Yeah, that's one of the key signs that you're going to see a lot of these drivers do. They're going to get down to the inside when they possibly can to hurry up and get into pit lane. You don't want to have a Nobinger and Jimmy Covert incident where, I need a pit. Well, you better figure it out, because you're about to get that sucks to suck moment here momentarily. So we're about to find out who's doing what. Either you're going to spin into pit road or you're going to find a way down. Yeah.
Oh, and the 12 and the Foster and Tilford tap just ever so slightly coming off that one turn out of turn 2.
The Cranes announced CS coming into pit road. That's an early dive for pit road entrance.
Yeah, just trying to get out of the way, I think, and that's not too bad of a call. It is making sure he gets down there. Oh, that's the Volt car. That is Kevin Foster, I believe, right?
No, Kelly Pointer actually into pit lane as well with John Crane. So you have the 2 leaders into pit lane, and now they got to pretty much hope for the best, hope for a caution to come out to play in their favor. Is lap number 46 out of 75 going into pit lane. And now it's over to Dave Tilford and Matt Crockett leading this field. You got Kevin Foster with Carl Hadwick in tow, and then you have Matt Crockett and Chris Hamilton in tow up on the top shelf, and there goes Kevin Hollywood Foster. He's going to bring his number 8 machine back into pit lane.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier when we just said that if those drivers can make it, and these drivers that have come down so far are not going to, they're going to need to stop again for a splash and dash, or at least hope for a caution. But I think a caution might be in play, as them drivers are really battling it out up front. And right now, I got Matt Crockett out to the lead.
Yeah, so far we've been green all the way, but I'm still expecting about one more caution when the field bunches back up after this set of green flag pit stops, because it is only a matter of time these boys start dropping the hammer and rolling the dice to try and see where they can put the car, as I believe Brandon Mettler is going to pit road now, as Christopher Hamilton is all over the back bumper of Crockett.
He's trying to get, when these cars light on fuel like this right now, with only a few laps to go, obviously need to make it stretch it at least 2 more laps. And that way they know that they're good to go to the finish. But you got right there, you got Kevin Foster coming out on the track right now as the leaders are going by. They're going to put Kevin Foster a lap down.
Yeah, they're going to be able to put him a lap down, and Matt Crockett in the pit
Matt
lane.
Crockett coming in. I think that's unfortunately not able to make it to that 50 lap mark. I think another driver is going to have to save. And I see Phelps is in as well, trying to catch up to Crockett.
And Hamilton just called in, so we're going to see Hamilton come in sometime soon, and maybe we'll see the rest of the guys behind them of Sullivan, Foster, and Tilford. And really, that entire front pack, we'll see if they all come in. It doesn't look like Foster wants to, because he's trying to make a move on the outside of Sullivan. My bad, that's
trying to get out of the way.
Yeah. Or is that Foster? No, okay.
That's Foster.
Crazy.
Foster's
all right.
Bolt. Yep. So Hamilton's in.
And Foster was able to get his lap back, and now Sullivan, Tilford, and Handwork can all make it it's still going to be cutting it a little bit close. They kind of want, excuse me, they still want to save just enough fuel. You don't want to get up front, use that clean air to your advantage. You kind of want to be in the pack just a little bit, getting a little bit of a draft, making sure you have enough fuel to go the distance and then another lap. Because just because it says 75, you still got to go around a whole another time to make it to lap number 76. So there you see the 12 in the 75 in the pit lane, or 76 in the pit lane, and Carl Handwerk is the only one left to pit, as he is going to go the distance. He's going to stay out an extra lap. So he put it on lap 25. He's going to stay out until lap number 52 or 51 coming to 52. That's where you're going to possibly see that number 18 machine diving down the pit lane.
Yeah, I think right there. I think that's a smart move there by Carl, able to save that fuel. Going to put him in a great position for the win here tonight. But Joe Sullivan out there in second. Dave Tilford taking over second. But Carl Handwerk is now in to the pits.
Yeah, Carl Handwerk finally bringing his number 18 machine into pit lane. That's going to inherit the lead on over to Dave Tilford, who is coming out of pit lane, but I think it's going to come down to Kevin Foster with the race lead.
I was going to say.
It blows my mind how he can go that early, but now fuel's going to come into strategy for Kevin Foster. Does he need the draft? Does he want to keep that lead over Chris Hamilton and Matt Crockett? Or does Kevin Foster know something that we don't know?
Well, right now he's coming up on Carl Handwerk that has the lead, and he's going to get around Carl as Carl is coming out of the pits. He definitely gets around Carl, has a nice lead. Carl's going to be able to come out and catch up and grab that tail end of Crockett and Hamilton. Yep.
I won't be surprised if we start seeing Foster lift a lot earlier or lift more than he's used to try and save that much fuel, and kind of hope that that pack behind him slowly gets to him where he's at a point where he can be behind cars and save fuel but still have a chance to fight for the win.
Yeah, right now the car that's in position, our great position, is actually I think Matt Crockett, because he's drafting Chris Hamilton right now. Carl doing whatever he can to get to the back end of Matt Crockett. I think Kevin Foster might be thinking about lifting a little bit early. Unfortunately, let the cars behind him catch up in order to kind of get in that draft and see if he can extend his runs here, as he has pit before the 25 lap mark both times, which is going to make them short. So right now, Kevin Foster out front over Christopher Hamilton, Matt Crockett, and then Carl Handwerk, Dave Tilford, Joe Sullivan, Kelly Pointer, John Crane, Brandon Mettler, Dan Phelps, and unfortunately, Thaddeus Marshall having connection issues here tonight. And look at Kevin Foster going down below, either to break the draft or to let those guys catch up just a little bit.
Yeah, I've never seen that happen, going down below the apron to break a little bit of draft. I know if you run the outside, you kind of want to go down to the inside and break the draft. I've seen it happen at, like, let's say Michigan or Indianapolis, where you have really long straightaways, or even a plate track as Talladega or Daytona. But I've never seen it at a 1.5 miles. And now Christopher Hamilton and Matt Crockett have caught Kevin Foster. Now it's going to be, he's going to do it again, and he's got Chris Hamilton to follow. Carl Handwerk was thinking about following. He dipped down 2 tires below that apron, but still, it's going to be a 4-car race here, and then you have a nice 2.5, almost 3-second gap back to Dave Tilford as he's leading that 4-car battle up here. And Brandon Mettler with John Crane, both running the same exact cars. And paint schemes going to be kind of difficult to tell who is who, but it is John Crane in front of Brandon Mettler. You're going to have 5 cars with 4 cars, and then riding all the way in the back, 8 seconds behind, is going to be that number 85 of Dan Phelps.
Yeah, it looks like we got 2 separate packs going on. It's kind of single file here. Tilford's trying to catch up to that lead pack, and Foster's running the high side. And is that Hamilton at the bottom?
No, that is Carl Handwerk.
Carl
My
Hedworth.
bad. Yeah, Handwork. He's down there all the way by himself. And he's side by side with Foster technically for P1.
Well, I mean, with it being as it is, Carl Hedworth knows he is completely safe. Like, he has nothing to worry. He doesn't have to save. He doesn't have to do anything. So right now, it's more of a strategic move for Chris Hamilton, for Matt Crockett, and Kevin Foster to let Carl Hedworth get out in front of him. So where those three drivers can save just a little bit more extra fuel that they need. But with them saving, that is now allowing Kelly Pointer, Dave Tilford, John Crane, Joe Sullivan, and Brandon Mettler to get caught back up, as they have dropped that from 3 seconds down to 2.5 seconds here in just a couple laps.
And I think that has to do with the kind of the jockeying around of the top four. Obviously, the Foster, Hamilton, and Crockett, on the edge of maybe having enough fuel or not having enough fuel. Foster, I think, is unfortunately kind of in a rare situation where he's usually the one that has all kinds of fuel remaining and to have himself, in a position to win on fuel mileage. But here tonight, I think he burned up just a little bit too much. Carl Handwerk, I think, is in a position where he has enough as long as they go green. But they go green, white checker. He might be in the same situation as all the other drivers out here as well. So right now, Carl Handwerk out front over Kevin Foster, Chris Hamilton, Matt Crockett, Kelly Pointer for your top five.
Yeah, it's going to be a good race to watch. We're going to see that second pack catch up to the first pack because they got it under 2 seconds. But while these drivers are clean and green, want to give a big shout out to Pointer Motorsports for coming on board and supporting Core Racing League. Want to give a big shout out to all 688 subscribers that have liked, shared, subscribed to CRN. Want to say thank you from ourselves, and hopefully we bring you guys the best racing all throughout the week, as CRN is filled up 7 days a week, multiple streams throughout every day. I have a few, Jimmy, you have a few, Carl's got a few, John Obiger's got a few. We stretch far and thin. It doesn't matter if it's dirt road, oval, dirt oval. Doesn't matter. CRN puts on one hell of a show. We could say potentially, as we cover pretty much anything and everything out there. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to CRN. Hit the little bell notification so you guys don't miss anything that CRN has to offer. And tune in all week, is everybody's got a little bit of something going on, as Kevin Foster doesn't want to ride in the coattails anymore of Carl Handwerk. Now he's using that apron to his advantage. He's trying to do everything he possibly can to try and find his way around Carl Handwerk. He's saying, you know what, guy? You want it? Have it. I'm not going to wreck myself or have you wreck me or take out the top four.
You see what this is doing, though, right?
Yeah, it's...
You see look what's happened to the second group. They are now caught up.
Yeah,
so now that 4 car is now a 7 car.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a fun little battle here. Are we going to see 3 wide for the finish? We had 2 of the closest finishes last week, .001 and .008 in the 79 and the Lotus 49. Now we're going to see what kind of finish we can have here. Is Kelly Pointer going to use that top shelf to his advantage? It's going to be all him, all by himself. Brandon Mettler has fallen off the pace just a little bit.
Thinking Carl Handwerk wants a .000 second place finish this week.
Well, he's currently sitting P4, so that is certainly an option if he gets to that point, as Foster blocking all around the track, making sure nobody gets in front of him.
He's really pushing that Mustang around. Kind of being up here and watching, and if people know, he is on that. I think he's very on the edge of being able to make it all the way. We're on lap 63 of 75.
He's just called a pit, so here he comes. He's going to come in.
So he's going to have to come in and get that quick splash and dash as the other drivers go on. Looks like he has somebody to come with him, Brandon Mettler. So 2 cars coming in. They're not super close together. We'll see if they can come out together. If Mettler can make up that time with Foster, so they can come back out and stay on that lead lap, or it's going to be so close.
Yeah, it's Now, we know the drivers on the outside, so Kelly Porter, Matt Crockett, and Chris Hamilton. We know they can't make it. They pitted just a few laps too shy. Now they got to try to find their way from the top down to the inside. As you see Kelly Porter kind of jab the brakes just a little bit, keep it off the back bumper of Matt Crockett. And Chris Hamilton kind of keeping his distance away from them too as well. John Crane going from the top down to the inside, top, bottom. It's more of where the momentum's going at is Brandon Mettler and Kevin Foster both going to be able to come out in front of the race leaders. Brandon Mettler going to use that high side to his advantage. He's going to get passed by Matt Crockett as Crockett using a little bit of brake going into turn number 3, but it's going to be Crockett and Pointer back on the top shelf. Then you have Joe Sullivan and Carl Handwerk down on that inside.
Yeah, it looks like Pointer was using some brake too, trying to stay on the back bumper of Crockett as long as he could, but also not run into the rear end of him, as Crockett looks like he's going to try and hog a middle lane and block the fastest lane that may come out of turn 2 here. Is this Mettler making it 3 wide? I think it is.
Whoop, that was a close one there between Pointer and Carl Handwerk, as Carl Handwerk had to go a little bit low as they almost touched coming down the back stretches. They were heading into 3, now they're coming out 4, heading towards the tri-oval. But right now, Matt Crockett is out front, and he's close, man. Man, he's close. I want to know if he's made, like, if he's able to save. I mean, saving 2 laps of fuel can be easy if you start early, but, you know, we're winding down here at lap 67 to 75, so only 8 laps to go, 9 laps to go.
Crockett called in, so he's going to come in too. I don't know how many more are going to follow, but Crockett's going to lose the lead for another splash and dash. And he's pulling in, and
John
one
Crane.
solo behind him.
Yeah, John Crane going to follow in behind him, and look how deep he's getting into pit lane. He wants to be back up on that back bumper going into pit lane, and that's just what he does. So Crockett's going to have some help coming out of pit lane. It's just now you got these 6 right here. Who's going to duck down? You know, Brandon Mettler's going to make it.
Kelly Pointer's going to come in. I just don't think that Kelly Pointer has enough fuel to go the distance, as he came in on lap 45 and currently sitting out front right now. Yeah,
you are right, though. He's lighting up the radio, so yep, here he comes. Yep. Nobody following him, though.
Yeah, Kelly Porter.
These 6 drivers here are, who's out front right now?
It would be Joe Sullivan.
Yeah, so somebody we haven't seen up front all race, but right now is Joe Sullivan. He came in at lap 50. Carl Handwerk came in at lap 51. David Tilford came in at lap 50. Chris Hamilton came in at lap 49, and Dan Phelps came in at lap 48. But and he's a little bit farther back in 5th position. So really trying to keep going around here, as right now they're on the back bumper of Brandon Mettler. And he's currently back in 10th spot.
Yeah, he's trying to stay on that lead lap for the chance of a caution, even though nobody's really a lap down right now. So even if he was to become a lap down, he's still got the lucky dog. But he's just trying to stay in front as long as he can, maybe even holding up Sullivan for Handwerk's sake.
Hey, and maybe, you know, Carl Handwerk and Joe Sullivan using Mettler as a draft partner to stretch their fuel out even farther. Carl Handwerk obviously being in the best position as far as fuel goes, as he was able to stretch that last tank out. But he's right now side by side with Joe Sullivan, and they have lap cars in front of them. As it's like they're going to go by Kelly Pointer, but they still have Brandon Mettler in front of them. So Carl is definitely using that draft to extend his fuel mileage for sure.
Yeah, Handwerk's loving it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going to come down to where do you want that lapped traffic at? And it's just, I don't know. I think we're going to see a good finish to the line. You know, Dave Tilford can make it. Same with Carl Handwerk. I think with Chris Hamilton staying in the draft and not trying to be out front leading laps, you're going to see him make it as well. So it's going to be a 5-car photo finish, we could possibly say. I mean, you could use all aspects of the track as Dan Phelps into pit lane this time by.
And I was thinking Phelps, but I think Phelps being back there by himself, no draft help, shortened up his fuel run. I was going to pull him back to towards the back of the pack for this race. But right now, the pack is being led by Brandon Mettler, not a lap car, just the last car in the lead lap. As Carl Handwerk is surely enjoying the draft here, the final few laps. It's kind of going to be interesting to see whether Carl tries to get around Brandon Mettler, or how this is going to all deal out, as Joe Sullivan really using that high side and can use the side draft of Mettler to pull him out in front of Carl Handwerk.
Yeah, he's going to try and hope to see if Mettler can just kind of pull him away from Sullivan. And if Mettler can do that, Handwerk will be loving life right now.
Right. I mean, right now, those lead cars, I mean, they're kind of blocked in. I mean, Joe Sullivan is the only one that has an open. You got Carl Handwerk, being held up by, not necessarily being held up, but like has Brandon Mettler in front of him. Kelly Pointer to the outside is going to hold Tilford down there. Chris Hamilton on that outside as well has a lap car in front of him of Kelly Pointer. Well, Kelly Pointer's a lap down too, but obviously has been running up with this pack, so everybody's plenty fast enough, and these guys are kind of stuck. This is just kind of the way, kind of like the cookie crumbled, is the pit stops kind of rolled out, and these drivers here are battling, and it's going to be a real close one here as Brandon Mettler leads the pack. Oh, Kelly Pointer getting a little bit loose there.
Almost collecting the 12 of Dave Tilford. Able to keep it clear. Kelly Pointer going to move out of the way. He knows it's the final lap, doesn't want to get involved in any which way, but it could go either way for Joe Sullivan and Carl Handwerk, going to be side by side. Lap traffic in front of him.
Hamilton's out of gas.
Hamilton
it's
out.
Just gonna be
it's going to be between Dave Tilford and a little bit of a move. It's going to come down to Carl Handwerk. Going to come up off the corner.
Have it. There's not enough momentum from Tilford.
Not enough momentum from Tilford, and finally,
close.
0.087. I mean, we always have these close finishes. And
wait, is it not the final lap? Wait a minute. No, sorry, their speed. They still had high speed. They were tripping me up, but.
So Carl Handwerk able to finally get it done on a non-points paying race. Finally gets to go down into victory lane. David Tilford finishing P number 2 with Joe Sullivan in third. Christopher Hamilton running out of gas, finishing fourth. Kevin Foster coming back through to finish fifth. Matt Crockett is sixth. John Gray is seventh. Brandon Mettler in eighth. Kelly Porter in ninth. Dan Phelps in 10th. And running out your 11-car field here tonight is going to be Thaddeus Marshall, who took an early exit here in Carl Handwerk. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, sir. You got to do a little bit of burnouts for us if you have the gas to do so.
Probably not.
Well, he almost just had his gas tank erupted from the rear end. Looks like he's going to do a junior moment, though, at the finish line.
Hey, you got Dave Tilford.
Doesn't have anything excited about it.
Well, I see Kevin Foster coming in a picture. He's going to miss him. Everybody's... No. Oh, no, there it is.
There's Mettler.
Giving him a little bit of congratulations, as we're going to go ahead and bring up the race results here tonight before we get our top 3 in the broadcast booth. It's going to be Carl Handwerk getting the win here tonight. You got Dave Tilford finishing P number 2, Joe Sullivan in third, Chris Hamilton in fourth, Kevin Foster in fifth, Matt Crockett in sixth, John Crate in seventh, Brandon Mettler in eighth, Kelly Porter in ninth, Dan Phelps in 10th, and Thaddeus Marshall run out your 11-car field. I'm going to go ahead and grab our third place finisher for Mr. Brandon Polt.
Oh, and we just had somebody sent to NASA.
Yeah, I just hope the drivers were either letting go of their wheels or whatever, because that can hurt, man. That's what hurt.
Okay. We are joined by our third place finisher here tonight. That's going to be Joe Sullivan. Joe, this is Dylan, Jimmy, and Brendan in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How you boys doing?
I'm doing good. Brendan, we're going to go ahead and let you take over our third place finisher here tonight, and Joe Sullivan.
Well, Sullivan, This race seems kind of interesting here. I was kind of pack racing the whole time around. Walk us through those last few laps and your pit strategy throughout today, man.
Yeah, I knew. I mean, I really didn't think this was going to go green the whole way, but I mean, that worked out pretty well. But I knew once I get past the 25 mark, then we were going to be good. So we late pitted there every time. And I had to save a little bit on that last run, especially being on the outside there, being the lead car. So I just ran out there towards the end.
Oh, well, yeah, we knew we could only do about 25 laps, give or take, with these gas tanks with only 25% full. But yeah, it looks like you had a little bit of contact at that turn 3 on the final lap, man.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with my pusher, but that last couple laps, or about last lap, I just had no push on the outside and didn't have nothing there.
Yeah, but before we let you go, is anybody you'd like to thank on that number 76 machine?
I just want to thank you guys up there. Put on a good show. Can't wait to go back and watch this one.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good one, man. We're gonna get you back down there to the broadcast weight rooms to enjoy AP3.
Thank you.
Yep, you have a good one.
All right, that's going to be our third place finisher of Joe Sullivan. Going to go ahead and bring up our second place finisher of Dave Tilford. And Jimmy, I think it's best if you go ahead and take over our second place finisher of Mr. Dave Tilford.
Hey, Dave, it's Dylan, Jimmy, and Brandon in the booth. You copy, buddy.
I copy. What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, one heck of a finish here tonight, coming away with a P number 2, almost getting the win over Carl, but you're gonna have to settle for that second spot. But kind of a long race here tonight, as you guys went green from start to finish, but you played the pit strategy out to almost perfection, allowing you to only have a 2 pit stop and putting you in that spot. Is there anything that you can expand on how the race was out there for 75 laps?
Yeah, well, I knew it was going to be a pit battle. I mean, Kevin Foster sponsored this, so you kind of know it's going to be about fuel saving, maybe. So early on, just tried to see that 25 lap magic number and hit right on that, and so kind of kept with that strategy the whole time. At the second pit stop, when Carl went 1 extra lap, I knew we were probably going to be in trouble because he was going to have that little bit of extra fuel at the end. So they were doing the slow race there in the last stint just to have enough fuel. Allowed us to bunch back up, but just not enough to pass him in the end.
Yeah, there's a lot of pack racing here tonight, even with the pit strategies kind of stretched out, and y'all kind of came back out together and were able to group back up, whether they were battling or whatnot, but it was really good, clean racing side by side for the majority of almost all night long. So to walk away here with the P number 2 and the talent that's out there, you got to be happy.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely happy with that. Starting to get a little more experience in this stuff, and kind of like the analytical figure out your fuel saving strategy and all that. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's nothing like being able to actually do a little bit of thinking when you're racing out there. You got to do it all yourself. But you walk away tonight with a second place finish. Obviously it doesn't count as a no points night, but it was just kind of for fun and bragging rights, as this is Foster's classic mid-season classic race. But off the next the 10th of September is a doubleheader, the GR86s and the GT3s. How are you feeling about those races coming up here in the future?
Yeah, that should be a good time. Looking forward to doing some road racing. I missed the supercars at Mount Panorama to start the Premier season, so looking forward to getting in with the Premier competition on the road.
That sounds like a plan, Dave. And I know you're up there, usually running pretty decently, especially in the GT series as well. So I wish you the best of luck on the following races, and congratulations tonight. And I'll give you a little bit of time for any shouts they may have.
Yeah, to you guys up in the booth. Thanks for doing the broadcast. To you, Jimmy, on the recovery. Just praying that it goes well. And to my family for just letting me do this thing and disappearing. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, that sounds good. Anyways, we'll let you go back and celebrate with the rest of your teammates down there and your friends and family, and we'll see you in the next few races.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy.
Yep.
It's going to be our second place finisher of Dave Tilford. Now we're going to move on to our race winner. That's going to be the number 18 of Carl Handenberg. Carl, is Dylan, Brendan, and Jimmy in the booth? You got a copy?
I got you, boys. You still awake up there?
I am still awake.
He's trying to take a play out of my rule book. Take naps.
Oh, man.
I don't know what he's trying to win here in the booth. He's already got a lead roll. He's already got a lead.
Oh, man. I was on the track and I was yawning. I can't only imagine you guys.
Please.
Well, Carl, last week you lost both races by a mere tenth of a second. Tonight you got the win by 0.082. Granted, it wasn't for points. Just a little bit of greenbacks in your pocket. Kind of walk me through with Brandon Mettler being in your way. Kind of played a little bit of a pick to your favor. Being in your way, not being able to have the clean air that Joe Sullivan had on that outside. And what all did you need to come together to help get you that race win here tonight?
Well, I mean, obviously, anytime you can win a Premier, you want to take advantage of it. It sucked that I didn't get it done both times last week, but Kevin gave me a call before the race here tonight and told me the family was watching, so I knew Mama was watching out there. So, Kelly, this one's for you out there. Certainly got to give the shout out. But yeah, it was. In practice, I didn't think we had enough, even with the draft, to be able to save 25 each time, but about like maybe 5-10 laps into that first stint, I was getting, like high 24s. I'm like, if I back off a little bit, I might be able to get 25 in this thing. And I just barely did. And then for some reason on that second stint, after I came out, I was getting in the 26s. I'm like, well, I'm not going to knock this. I'll take an extra lap out of it. And that extra lap is really what did it, because when I came out there, I needed to push extremely hard just to hang on. And I just barely grabbed the back of Hamilton and Crockett coming out there in that draft, and was able to reel them in, and that's really what the a big part of the deal coming through on tonight is getting those guys and just saving and playing a little I don't know what you want to call it, a little douchebaggery when I was out front there, and making those guys run the high line, and then trying to break the draft a little bit, make them use up that fuel, and either way it worked out.
Yeah, it definitely worked out to your favor. You got the oval side down this week, but now you got a double header next week. You got the GR86 at Daytona Road Course, and then you have the GT3 following right after that. Are you glad to be back on the roadside, or are you just kind of taking it race by race until the playoffs start?
Yeah, I mean, it really all depends on who shows up. I mean, we got players in here that are good on dirt road, are good on dirt, are good on road, and good on oval. So it's not like it's just as simple as, okay, well, this is a decent combo for me. I should have a chance, and I should, and I'm sure I will. But there are still some heavy hitters, and it all depends on kind of who shows up for the Premier Series that week. Happy for the guys that did show up here tonight, just have some fun out here tonight. But yeah, it's week in and week out. This series is not easy. I mean, you're not running the same car every week. It's not the ARCA series. It's not the GT series. It's something different every week. And regardless if you practice, throughout the week or not, these guys are going to come to play come Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around in the Premier Series. Jimmy does the Premier Series. Brendan, I don't think you've crossed that threshold to become one of the elite drivers for the Premier Series.
Not yet.
It's all good, buddy. But
I'll let you guys have a little sidebar after this. Remember when Brendan used to help you out on Sundays? Yeah, remember that?
I'm not gonna be broken forever.
But no, it's still good to see different car track combos, seeing what everybody can do, and seeing the commitment that everybody makes, and having fun up in the Discord as well. We are having fun with everybody up there, so hats off to you getting the race win here tonight. Is there anybody at that number 18 machine you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, a big shout out obviously to Jimmy Buffett bringing it home tonight. I'll make sure I bring the salt shaker and the flip flops to the party tonight. Yeah, again, just a thank you to all the boys that showed out here tonight. A little bit later of field, but it was just a fun night. Not everybody had the car and or the track, so I figured it was going to be a little bit smaller tonight. But the guys that showed up here tonight, it was fun. There was plenty of banter going on back and forth. So first shout out to them. Again, shout out to you guys for putting this on, and probably a good night to have 3 in the booth to help you make it through this 75 lap of pacing out there. But it was fun being out there, and it was 75 green flag laps because these guys we had a lot of respect for each other and give each other plenty of room and made smart bump drafts when we could. So great job by these guys. Thank you to the fans showing out there tonight. All the fans, obviously, shout out to Barry out there. I don't give him enough shout outs, but he knows I'm out there, and I know he's watching. And obviously, all of Kevin's family and Kevin himself for putting this on here and putting out whatever he's gonna be putting out for the prizes here. I'll probably end up donating it back, and maybe we'll do a little raffle with whatever the winnings are. But thank you to him for putting this on, and he does it every year. It's just kind of a week off for us. It's just a fun night. We can let our hair down and have a little fun, and he puts a little prize money up for it. So thank him again for that.
All right, Carl, we're going to go ahead and let you get on out of here. Celebrate that race win here tonight, and we'll be talking to you again in a little bit.
Sounds good. Thanks, boys.
All right, this is going to be our race winner here tonight of Carl Handwork. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night as we got the GT League, 4 Core Racing League, as they're venturing through their season. It's been a great season by the talks of Jimmy and Carl and everybody in there. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night for the Core GT League. Tuesday night, you're going to have 3 if UCRL races this Tuesday, you're going to have 3 broadcasts. You're going to have myself in the broadcast booth with the Smoky Mountain Grassroots Racing Dirt League on Tuesday night. You're going to have John Nobinger with the Arkham and R Series. And then you're going to have Jimmy and Carl in the booth for UCRL on Tuesday night. So 3 broadcasts in one night. Wednesday night, you're going to have myself with the Lucky Dog Racing League as they get ready to tackle the 7th race of the season. The championship is winding down. Going to see who's going to become the Season 2 champion here in about 3 weeks' time. Thursday night, or Wednesday night as well, you got Chop Shop GT League with, I believe, Jimmy Covert and Mark Thomas. Or is that Carl Handwork?
That's Carl.
Hey, see, I'm so good. I don't even know who's broadcasting what. I just go with the flow. I just know the names of the league. That's all I know. But you're gonna have those 2 gentlemen in the broadcast booth. Thursday night, you're gonna have Thad Marshall and John Nobinger in the broadcast booth for the Dirt for Beginners as they get ready to tackle their next race, which will be, I believe, it is the 358, the Big Block Modifieds at Bristol Dirt. So make sure you guys tune in on Thursday night to watch that. Friday, Saturday night. Friday, you're going to have possibly a money race from Feg Custom PC on Friday night. And then Saturday night, you're going to see the same thing, a doubleheader possibly on Saturday. Friday night would be Jimmy in the broadcast booth. Saturday would be me in the broadcast booth. And then we're going to be right back here for a doubleheader on Sunday for the Core Premier Series. It's been an absolute pleasure being a broadcaster for CRN and covering anything that Core, UCRL, PSCRL, Lucky Dog, Smoky Mountain, Grassroots Racing, Chop Shop, whatever league that we end up getting to cover. It's been a absolute blast doing that as well. I want to give another big shout out to Papa. What's his name? Papa. I think it was Papa Smith. I think it was.
I thought you were about to say Papa Smurf, man.
Papa Bill. That's what it is. Papa. Want to give a big shout out to Papa Bill and Mama Kelly out there watching, rooting on Kevin Foster. Want to give a big shout out to everybody that likes, shares, subscribes to CRN. Make sure you guys hit that bell notification, turn on all notifications so you guys don't miss a single beat on CRN. It's been a pleasure. It's been myself, Brendan Polt, and Jimmy Covert in the broadcast booth. Make sure you guys take care. Brush your hair.
Peace.